Welcome back, and once again, apologies for
Yep.
uh, the technical issues. The plan is to pick up from where we left, and for the new viewers, right? This is FPL Variance. We are powered by Fantasypedia, and I'm Zishan, your host, and as always, I'm joined with my co-hosts Mihir, Manan, and Anshuman. Yeah, we were talking about we covered Isaac replacement. Just a brief recap. We covered Isaac replacements in detail. Uh, the general consensus, the likes of Tony and Solanki, who some of us are not very keen on, especially me and Anshuman, and also discuss Brennan Johnson as some options. We'll discuss about this in further detail when we cover the potential optimal wildcard team as per the FPL variance team. But yeah, for now let's move on, and we will talk about mid-price midfielders. The sub 8 million bracket. Anshuman, take us through it.
Okay, so for most of us, I think there are two major options which we are nailed on. I think which is Madison and Zaha. So there isn't a lot of discussion to make. They have good fixtures. They're talisman for each like their respective teams, and they have decent stats as well. So everything backs them, and that is why you should have them. There's no debate around it. They are the nailed on ones in the mid range midfielder bracket. But there is a slot open up. Obviously, there's alternatives as well. There are good alternatives. Foden, Bowen. There are two, three couple of Barnes, Coutinho. I would add to the mix. So, are you guys considering any of them, and why, if so? Because the other two are pretty much have a very strong case for themselves.
Actually, I am not considering the other ones yet because I am considering sticking with Martinelli due to like his fixtures are hard, but he's still playing for a top four team, nailed on at 6 million, and his fixtures post game week 13 are great. But also due to the fact because I can't afford any of the guys that you mentioned, like Harvey Barnes, my budget to replace him, Martinelli, if I replace him, it's 6.5 mil. And the only guy who stands out to me as a good replacement for Martinelli is Luis Sinistera from Leeds. But there are again concerns over his X minutes at Leeds because they have Rodrigo, Bamford is now fit, Jack Harrison, and I'm sure I have missed someone. So there are competition for starting places there. Like I think, like I hope he is the first choice, but there is still there a feeling that he might not be the secured X minutes. Whereas with Martinelli, he is a 90-minute man, also the main goal scorer for Arsenal so far this year. And Gabriel Jesus helps his appeal too. And I am hoping that Liverpool, despite Matip coming back, will I think concede a goal to Arsenal too in that game. And there is a good chance that it could be Martinelli too.
Yeah.
I mean, for
Yes.
everyone
Yes.
who has Martinelli and like me, I just want to put you through this. I'm not sure if you know this, but Arsenal are ranked bottom in the fixture ticker from game week 9 to 13, and are fifth on the ticker from 13 to 16. So
Yeah,
there is an obvious gain to be made here in terms of fixtures. Yes, he has scored, he can do well against the good teams, but when you put him in comparison to someone who has easy fixtures and maybe someone who has form, then you can make the swap, and I don't think money
well,
will be an issue ever.
yeah, I agree with that. But there is also the case start holding because from game week 13, like we don't get a free wildcard in game week 12. From game week 13 onwards, they face Southampton. Then they have Nottingham Forest, which is the
Yeah.
like the main game for attacking returns for most teams. So I want to save myself a free transfer that way because game week 11 it's Leeds. Then game week 12 we can bench him as Man City also. Like I am not planning to go with more than two Man City assets on my wildcard. So I can bench him in that week, and then after that week, from game week 13 to 16, when we will get our free wild card for the World Cup, he faces Southampton, Nottingham Forest, and Wolves, which are good teams for attacking returns. So it basically saves a transfer down the line.
But
Yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, just to counter that, let's say we had this discussion on the previous like stream, which got ended suddenly. But we had this discussion where you had to take a 5.5 or 6 million forward because you were mostly going to have three Arsenal plus City players. But let's say you bring that down to a 4.3, which is the cheapest forward available. You can upgrade your Martinelli essentially, possibly to an 8 million midfielder. And I think there is a certain gain. There's players like Mount, Foden, Diaz, all who can score, who could do well, and that is why I think there is a possible potential of chasing those points.
Yeah, I agree with Luis Diaz's point. But then again, Luis Diaz also has the tough fixtures which Martinelli has, if not tougher, because he also faces Arsenal and then he faces Man City, which is also a tricky one to go on because his stats are also similar to Martinelli's and he costs 2 million more. So that's, and with regards to Mount, I think it's a wait and see because Graham Potter has not yet fielded a Chelsea team in the Premier League. So I didn't particularly rate Mason Mount as a FPL option before under Thomas Tuchel. So I still need to see a bit more from him to pick him in FPL because even last year he was like a flat track bully, scoring against Norwich, scoring against Watford, and then in other games he used to play a bit deeper. So I need to see more under Potter if he is playing in the advanced role.
Yeah, I'll be interested in hearing Manan's thoughts because he is also on Wildcard, like Mihir. And are you keeping Martinelli, Manan, or do you have another player as on your Wildcard?
So currently, I don't have Martin Lily in my team. I have Sinistera, and I have a good reason for it. I think what point the points that Mir made, that we all acknowledge that Arsenal fixtures from game week 13 to game week 16 are good, but from game week 9 to 12, there's an opportunity to gain more points over Martinelli, and I'm all for it. I think we are putting too much emphasis on the value. I know he's good at his price, and he's been performing well, but when we see his fixtures, I don't think Tottenham, Liverpool. Okay, Leeds is a good fixture, but then there's a blank. And if we see the 9 to 12 game week as a 4 game week period, I think Sinistera. Even if there's doubt on Sinistera minutes, I think Jack Harrison is an amazing option. I think his chances created and expected assist are up top with all other players. So I think if you don't like Sinistera as an option, I think Jack Harrison is also a great option. We know Leeds to be an attacking team, right? They're known for their attacking prowess. So I think there is an opportunity there. Even Harvey Barnes. I mean, I don't know how his minutes. I mean, if his minutes will be managed, but I think on a wild card, I think there's an opportunity to take a punt with the Martinelli spot.
Well, just to interrupt you, Harvey Barnes this year has an XGI of 0.22. And before in the last part, which got interrupted due to technical issues,
Yeah.
you all were slamming Solanke for having a point similar, like almost the same XGI, and are now recommending Barnes. Like, I don't get it that way.
I
No,
think
but
the counter argument is that Leicester are a proven Premier League team, and
Nah.
Bournemouth are championship
yeah.
I don't
So-
buy that. This year's Leicester is not proven.
Leicester-
No, but they are bad.
They're relegation
but they're
team,
sti-
dude. They're
but
a
they're
relegation
still
team.
scoring. But they're still
don't
scoring
you
goals,
think
right?
they will turn it around with the fixtures, Anshuman?
Yeah.
I mean, they can. We're talking about a they can situation. Even Bournemouth can score.
But
It's not like they have
yeah.
not scored.
And the double up is the question if we go Barnes because Madison
Yeah,
is a
you're
lot.
already
and
betting
you
on
are-
Madison.
So a double up is too much if they are not showing it, and it's too much of a shot in the dark for me. Also,
I think with Sinistera, I think Barnes is a fine. I would definitely pick Barnes ahead of Martinelli. I understand the price is a concern. If you're not gonna chase, I mean, that blank in 12, I just can't look past it, right? If I was on a wild card personally, but yeah, I see the pros.
And I think while the talk about saving a transfer and getting in Martinelli so that you don't have to make a transfer in game week 13, I think if we plan properly, I think there are not many transfers you would want to make between game week 9 and 12, and especially if you are starting with the Liverpool guys. So I think there's an opportunity, and I think Leeds boys are top for me. I think as a Martinelli replacement.
Okay, I just want to put the other side of the argument out there as well. Especially for people who are not on wildcard, I don't think Martinez is a sell at any cost because you will waste two transfers. One selling him and then again buying him, and you'll lose value as well. So for people who are not on wildcard, is an absolute no in my opinion because there's no point. He is a proven player. Again, this is for people who are wildcard as well. He plays for a top four side. He plays for an attacking team who's top four for attacking stats. He has been decent. And one thing that I've noticed in bigger games or in general in games, he does cut inside a lot. When Jesus drops in, he's the one who's cutting inside. He's the one who's going for those through balls, and he's always involved. And he is one of the best players in terms of stats from Arsenal this season. Again,
Totally
obviously,
agree.
it's there, and even Martinelli is second, I think.
Totally agreed. Yeah.
Another point I want to mention, which Saurav in the chat mentioned about Luis Diaz. Jota is now returning from the injury. Nunes is in the frame, and Liverpool need to change their tactics. What do you think about Diaz X minutes now? Now that Diaz, Jota, Nunes, and also Firmino, four players are now competing for two slots, given that Salah usually starts from historical data. So I don't think he is that of a threat of X minutes. But what do you think about Diaz and X minutes going forward with four players competing for two slots?
I mean, I'm not keen on Diaz personally. I know Anshuman likes him, but
Yeah, I have something because I was considering a Kulusevski to Diaz move this game week, particularly because it's an easier switch for me. It's a point one switch. I can afford it, and I can even consider captaining him. But the caveat here is that he played today for his country Colombia. Uh, so now he travels tomorrow, and he'll be the last player to make it to Anfield. And they have a game on Saturday. Historically, this happened once. I think if I consider international games and a Premier League game, when he was benched against Watford in some game week last season. And I don't expect him to start this week again because now they can play Jota on the left, Nunes in center, and Salah on the right, which could be a situation this week. But going ahead, I think Diaz will against be the preferred one, where Firmino, Nunes, and Jota are played in the center, and Jota eventually sometimes when Diaz needs a rest plays on the left. I think, but majority, if I look out these four players apart from Salah, I think Diaz still gets maximum minutes.
Fair, fair. Let's move on to the wildcard thing, which we were discussing and got cut off due to technical errors now.
Yep. We will look at the wildcard team, and before we do that, if you're watching the stream and if you've not subscribed to our channel yet, do that. Hit the bell icon. We churn out regular FPL content for you, and there's a lot more in store. And right after wildcard discussion, so what we've done is the FPL variance team has picked what we think is the optimal wildcard team for game week 9, and as you can see that there are already players out there. For someone like Salah, it does not necessarily have to be Salah. We are looking at it as a price point where Salah is basically a premium midfielder, and you've got other players in there on your screen, and the empty spots that you see, those are the ones that we think are up for grabs, and we will be discussing that. So Anshuman, take us through the wildcard draft.
Yeah, before I take us through, there are a lot of people watching our stream at the moment, and you haven't hit the like button. So please do that. It really helps us push our content to other people. And if you like our content, really encourages us to bring out more content every week. That being said, and that out of the way, we have Ward in goal, James Trippier Trent, Madison, Andrea Zaha, Haaland, and Mitrovic up top. So the idea here is these are the players we think are nailed in the draft, and we think these are pretty much essential, and they should never be they should not go anywhere. But the other positions are up for grabs. So we'll start position by position, and first up, I ask everyone, the keeper or the primary keeper in this case. Who do you think? I know you discussed this in depth in the last stream, in the last week's stream, but Jose Sa and Pope are two options. Guaita becoming a third option now. Who do you think would be your pick, and why?
I would go for Jose Sa right now because I don't like the double up for Newcastle. I like Newcastle as a team, but I don't like that double up over the next few games. And I like Jose Sa's fixtures over the next few weeks till the World Cup, like till game week 16. He only faces Chelsea from the traditional top six till game week 16, where he faces Arsenal. It's in game week 16. So his next for the next few weeks from game week 11, his fixtures are great. And also this week, he faces West Ham, who themselves have been struggling. And now Matt Loddy, who is a reputed journalist, is also stating that David Moyes might be sacked and is under huge pressure from the board to deliver, as they have been underperforming this year. So I don't think West Ham is that tough of a game, despite it being mentioned as one on the FPL ticker. I think Jose Sa is the option for me as a goalkeeper pick due to me not wanting a double up, as I don't think they keep that many clean sheets, that Newcastle that is, over the next few, as they are facing Fulham, who, as we all know, Mitrovic is in great form. Then they face Man United, Tottenham. So I don't think there are many clean sheets in the next 5 weeks, as they face three good attacks in the next 5 games.
I mean, Manan, Rakshit, your thoughts?
I completely agree with what Mihir said, and I think I still have Sa as my goalkeeper. At 5, I think he provides a good value, and he has kept 3 clean sheets. He's not conceding many big chances. He have good upcoming fixture. And I am very pro Sa because they are not good alternatives. I think Chelsea is also Chelsea goalkeeper Kappa and Mendy situation is something we are not sure of, because they have not played a Premier League match under Graham Potter, and the other goalkeepers, Guaita, I think Palace have conceded the second most big chances. I think they were good defensively last year, but they haven't had a good preseason. I think haven't had a good preseason at the start of this season due to COVID, due to many players having COVID and injuries. And I don't rate Crystal Palace defense this year at all. So it's basically Sa is the only alternative goalkeeper that looks good right now.
Wow. Wow, there's so much love for Sa, and I mean, I just can't look past Nick Pope. But yeah, I mean, and I get the fixtures argument, right? That a bit tricky upcoming, but I think Pope sort of thrives in that those kind of fixtures, and I am pretty confident that Newcastle will keep ticking along in terms of clean sheets. In the next 8, I see
But
3 or 4 clean sheets, and he gets those save points. So what you're looking at is a keeper who can get you steady points, he can get you clean sheets, and in one of those difficult fixtures, if he manages to get a clean sheet, and I'm sure he'll get a lot of save points if that happens. You're looking at a bumper score.
But
Uh,
do you keep a double Newcastle defense with Trippier, assuming he is locked, as we have mentioned in the video? Do
yep.
you think it's better to keep a double defense when you are thinking at a price point of 5.3 million, which is now only point 2 short of the most expensive goalkeeper? Do you think it's okay for him to tick along with 50% clean sheets? Like you are assuming that it will be the floor of 50% clean sheets. Do you think the money would be better spent on someone who is like point 0.3 cheaper, but has a more probability of getting clean sheets over the next few games? And as we know, Wolves are like a defense first side, so
Yeah.
it's better for like he also has a similar save potential like Pope. Like we saw last year, Sag loves getting massive hauls like Pope. So don't you think it's similar for both of them with regards to the save argument and the bonus points argument? Because Sa also has a baseline BPS which is similar to Pope, if not better.
Yeah. No, I think it's a no. It's purely down to the fact that you said that he's just 0.1 million cheaper than the most expensive keeper. I think he justifies that. For me, he's the best FPL keeper in the league. And it's. I mean, we see these trends every year, right? I think it was Martinez, if people remember, is very close to hitting that top record for a goalkeeper, point haul in the season. So I think it's very similar to that. And as we've seen in the past, so if you take Man City for example, they keep a lot of clean sheets, right? I think they're the best defense in the league. But just because they keep a lot of clean sheets does not make Edison a good option. And not just because he takes up a City spot. It's also the fact that he does not do much apart from keeping clean sheets. At times picks up the odd yellow card. So you're looking at City players getting more points, but he's just stuck at 5 or 6 points. So, and Sa is not even, I don't think Wolves are anywhere close. And I think there's a bit of contrast. I'm not sure about the data, but I think at home, they're top 2 in terms of defensive numbers, but away they're 19th or 20th, or maybe it's the other way around. So I'm
It's the other
definitely
way
sure
around, I
of that.
think.
The
Yeah.
other way around,
Yeah, the other way around. So it's very contrasting, and when I see such inconsistency, I get worried. To me, it's a sign of the manager not being sure how to set up. And there are a lot of factors that we sort of don't know. So I think Sai is a fine pick, but Pope, I think, is the outright best goalkeeper pick. But I hope it works out for you guys. Sai in isolation. I would never wish a wildcard pick, especially the keeper pick, going wrong, as someone who picked Ward and Iverson in game week 1, and it was disastrous. I
In
regret
the
that.
end, the goalkeepers only like they are only 5 to 10 points apart. So it's not
Yeah.
much in that. Like even if we
yeah.
check right now, like Pope is on 38 points and Jose Sa is on 37 points. So it's not much in between them. There is
Has,
another
has
person.
Salah saved a penalty this season? Has
Yeah,
he?
I
I
think he
don't
did.
know.
So I
I
think
think, yeah, he
Mitrovic, I
did.
think, was it the
Yeah.
Mitrovic one?
Yeah, Mitrovic penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, there
I
is
think I have to wait for my
yeah.
boy Pope to save one. But yeah.
Also, there is another question in the comments from Ayan. He's asking, what about the Begovic and Pickford double up? So, Ayan, there is another thing we have to consider during this. Like, their right back, Nathan Patterson, is now out for 4 to 5 weeks. And to replace him now, it will be Seamus Coleman, and we don't know if Pickford is fit. Like I get that Begovic just had a clean sheet, but their stats are not like their stats are bottom five right now in the whole league. So I wouldn't consider it, but I would maybe consider it if you can't afford a Pope or a Sa. Like only then, like I prefer him to a Guaita, but don't prefer him to a Pope and Sa.
I mean,
I
I agree.
know we were
Yeah.
slandering. Sorry, Anshu. I know just bringing this up because we were slandering Ward and Iverson just 2 minutes back. But would you guys, the two guys on Wildcard, Manan and Mihir, would you consider Ward and Iverson purely because of the fixtures?
So
No,
I started with Warden Iverson from Gameweek 1, and it was a nightmare. Like he got, I think, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. Like it was some sort of that pattern. And I think over the next 8 game weeks, I think if you can, please avoid Iverson and Ward as a former manager who had them.
well,
mean,
I would like to credit FBref for this stat. Like its post-shot XG is a very useful metric which provides us how good keepers are at shot stopping. And Danny Ward is at negative 4.5, which means he should have saved 4.5 goals more than he has conceded so far, which speaks volumes about his shot stopping ability, albeit it's a small sample size. Like it's 8 game. But I think
it's not
on the
small.
eye test too.
Actually,
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
it's
be
not
honest.
like
The eye test says it all. Ward
yeah,
isn't a good
on
keeper.
the eye test, it doesn't show him as a great pick. So I wouldn't consider it also because those are two Leicester spots and Madison is a lock, as we mentioned. And if Daka becomes an option, you will require two transfers. Like I faced it during the Emiliano Martinez season, which G mentioned before, where I had Martinez and Olsen, and I had Grealish then, and I couldn't go Watkins because I had Olsen there. So there's a doubt on if you want a third Leicester asset, and I just don't trust their defense.
Okay, that's a lot on keepers. I think I'll just sum it up simple for me. It is very simple. Stick with the keeper you think will get you more points. I don't think one game week changes my outlook on Newcastle as a defense, and Pope as a player who'll get more bonus points and save points. So for me, it's Pope. What do you guys think? One name again, final.
I think we have a split of votes. It's 2 votes for Sa, 2 votes for Pope.
Okay.
Let's pick Sa purely because he's 0.3 cheaper. So
Yeah, I mean, if you want to save money, yeah, go there. Because I don't think in the next 8 game weeks there'll be huge variance in terms of points in those two keepers, and then eventually you can figure out later on as well.
yeah,
Okay.
take us through the rest of the team.
Okay, so moving on, since we have defense now, we have 2 spots left, and let me just explain the teams or my thoughts on no Cancelo, because that might be surprising for some. He has tough fixtures from now till game week 13. He is slight and he has a blank. So that is the reason most of us have not probably put in Cancelo there, because we think that Trent outscores him in those next 4 fixtures, and he basically takes up money as well. So that's our thought. But again, do you still feel that you want to put Cancelo in and you can have a 4 at the back system with no Martinelli? Because this is a question that some people had on Wildcard.
It's a question that I have right now as well because I am torn on if to do this or that. But
Same.
right now I am holding on to the Martinelli route, and I know Manan is holding on to the Cancelo route. So I'll just give the pros of the Martinelli route over the Cancelo route. Then Manan can talk about the Cancelo route. For the Martinelli route, in the next 3 game weeks, Cancelo has the Manchester Derby. Then he faces Liverpool away from home at Anfield, and then it's a blank. And as we mentioned with Martinelli, with Martinelli and the blank, both have a blank in game week 12. But Cancelo, the main purpose, most people have him in our wild card and our teams in FPL. Even at the 7 million price range, is his needness in the Man City team, which is the best defense in the league. But I don't think it's that big of a gamble to hope that Man United and Liverpool, both who are good attacks and have good attacks, to hope that they concede 1 goal or 2 goals in that game. And the Southampton game is a risk. Like I know it can be a clean sheet in that game, but yeah, also there's the attacking potential side of things. He has a XGI of 0.16, which is like most center backs. So I don't think the attacking potential is there, but just gambling on the fact that he doesn't get clean sheets and Martinelli versus Leeds and Liverpool will get attacking returns is what I am doing right now.
Okay, so
I think I need to present a case for Cancelo. I think City defense is just outstanding this season. I think they are top for every defensive metrics, and the case that Cancelo is not attacking this season quite as much as he was last season. I think I agree to a point, but in the last match also when they won against Wolves 3-0, I think he was top for bonus despite just keeping a clean sheet and not getting any attacking return. So I think if he attacks, I think then he's good for bonus. If he doesn't attack, he makes a lot of tackles and interceptions, and I think he's a bonus point magnet. So there's certainly a case that if they are very good in defense, and so one more point I would like to add that the fixtures for City read United, Southampton, and Liverpool. But we won't be shocked if City keep a clean sheet against United or a Liverpool, right? Because they are just an elite defense. So I think there's a genuine case for Cancelo to be in every wildcard team.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point purely down to the fact. Yes, Anshuman, go on.
Yeah, my question just to both of you, since you're considering this, two things. What I think is basically having Cancelo. I know he can keep a clean sheet. Obviously, I think he could keep a clean sheet against Southampton. I think he does. United is a higher clean sheet odd in terms of clean sheets. I am not sure if he keeps a clean sheet against Liverpool, to be fair. But it's easier to have Cancelo, James, Trent, and Trippier in your back four, and then you can sell one of your players to downgrade to Martinelli. Than to have Martinelli throughout and then figure out how to get Cancelo back, because it's always easier to downgrade a player. For me, that's the thought process. If I had to start, I mean, either then you'll have to let go of Trent and then get Cancelo in.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
think
the
it
question.
comes down to that sacrifice, right? But there's a case for Trent as well, because we were looking at some data last week, and Trent is just through the roof. His attacking numbers are excellent. It's just the fact that Liverpool, as a defensive unit, have not been very reliable. And even last season, Alisson was overperforming, and that helped Liverpool's case. This year, it's sort of plateaued a little bit. It's pretty standard. There's no overperformance from Alisson, and so that is a worry. So I think having Trent is an option if you consider that extra fixture in game week 12. But if you're very sure and if you're very confident about City's defense, which is definitely elite, I think there's a case to hold on to him, go without Trent on wildcard, and then post game week 12, well, Liverpool's fixtures they turn after Manchester City. Find a way, maybe do free transfers if you're happy with the team structures. The 13-14, the core of your team is pretty good. Then you find a way to bring Trent in somehow. It could mean a bit of, tweak in the shape. You go from a 3-4-3 to a 4-3-3. I think that could be the play. Let those tricky fixtures go away, and then you get Trent in, and you hold on to Cancelo because City are so good at the back.
There is also one thing to point out here. Due to the Liverpool stat, there is also one thing to add there. Joel Matip is now coming back into the team instead of Joe Gomez, who you consider as their best defender. So their stats which we will expect to improve now too. The clean sheet probability.
Yeah, I think that's a fair. And just for our viewers, when Mihir said I consider him to be the best defender, he was talking about Matip and not Joe Gomez. And yeah, I think Matip is very crucial to that team. But again, the worrying thing for me is I think there are some. It's a flaw related to system, because the overperformance from Alisson, it was last season as well. So maybe they improve, but can they match City's level in terms of defense? I'm not sure of that. So I see both the sides, to be very honest. And it's again a very 50-50 sort of a call, right? You could go wrong, you could go right, and we don't know which side of variance you fall in. So yeah, the three spots are locked. Which formation are we going for? A 4-3-3 here, guys? Should we pick Cancelo, or we go for a cheaper defender?
I think that's the question for the wildcard.
Yeah. Well, on my personal team, I am on a 3-4-3 right now. So on the fourth and fifth defender, I have Guehi, who is at 4.3 million, and he rotates with Trippier in game week 11 and 13 really well. So he is the pick for me due to that, and also due to the price point at 4.3 million. And the fifth defender is Totti, the Roma legend. He is available in FPL at 3.8 million. So I would consider him on a wild card.
I think I'm of the same view. that 3-4-3 is currently the best setup. I think those defenders, Nico Williams, Goi, they have a good game week 12 fixture as well, which is very important. Keeping game week 12 is a blank for City and Arsenal. So I think that is the structure I think we should go for probably.
I
think
think
I
one
just-
negative about, and something that Anshuman mentioned before, if you're picking a 4.5 million dead forward, dead as in not literally a dead in your FPL team, I think the same applies to a 3.8 defender as well,
Yeah,
or
I was just
any.
gonna say that.
Yeah. I meant not a
Yeah.
3.8, but I meant a playing defender, someone like Nico Williams.
Yeah, just the general one, because Mihir
Yeah.
spoke about it. So
Yeah,
I think
because-
that's one thing that you have to be careful. It might not strike you. Suddenly you have more than three players from Arsenal and City, and you have a dead spot in the team, and it's not ideal. Yes, Anshuman.
Yeah, because Mihir is going with two players from that fixture.
Yeah,
Only
that's
two players.
also another considering with Cancelo, that I can afford a point for saving that way on Nico to Totti. So that's another saving which I can put forward to upgrade someone like Solanke to Tony, which is a upgrade in terms of points.
Yeah, so that's there. So in my opinion, the last two spots probably will go to a Nico Williams. I think Nico Williams at his price point, given that most people will still have him pre-wildcard as well, I think is a pretty decent player to hold on to. The fifth spot is pretty much up for grabs for me. And if I was on wildcard, I would go Guehi just because the fact that he has a decent fixture in 12, and that's the only game week I probably need him.
And he's also very cheap.
What is he? 4.3?
4.3.
Yeah.
4.3.
I think at the same price, even Justin is a good shout. Again, question marks.
Danny Ward.
Not scared of Danny
So-
Ward. I get it, but I'm just thinking at some point they will keep a clean sheet. They're bound to happen. The probability, I'm just purely banking on that.
I think
And
yeah.
Justin could have that upside. So I'm thinking that maybe as a fourth or a fifth defender, especially if you've got someone like Nico Williams who does play, who's pretty nailed on. I think it's a reasonable shout. Next 5 or 6, 7 fixtures, they're pretty good.
I think if you're going Huerta and as your goalkeeper, I think then it makes sense to go with Justin, because you don't want to have a double Crystal Palace defense in game week 12 if you're planning to play him as well.
Yeah, it's just the fixtures play, right? If somehow they keep a clean sheet, he gets an odd assist, you're looking at a 12-pointer, and it's just getting the timing right. Yeah, I'm hopeful. For some reason, I am backing Leicester to do well. So what do we think? The last spot, are we going for Guehi or James Justin? Let's.
It depends on who your keeper is.
Yeah. If you're not going Goethe, I think Guehi is the guy you should be picking in your team.
That's fair. We've locked the back five. We've picked the two goalkeepers. Let's move on. There are two midfield spots up for grab. What are we? I think Pereira sort of picks himself. Andreas Pereira. He's the
only budget enabler.
Andreas and Madison pick themselves. Also Zaha if you are a fixtures manager. So the three spots are locked in my opinion.
So there are two. We've discussed Martinelli extensively, I think, which is confusing. But most managers most likely will go for him if you're not going for a back four setup, I think.
Agreed. Yeah.
So it comes down to
the premium spot.
Premium spot.
That's another whole discussion.
Because just quickly, which players are you? Which premium are you going for? Kevin De Bruyne or Son, Salah? Who are you going for?
I am going for Salah at the moment because I think he is the best captaincy option in game week 9. Also, another fact you need to consider is in that team, in my wildcard team, I don't have any planned transfers in the next few weeks. So even if Salah doesn't work out, I can immediately switch him to a Son who faces Brighton again next week, or Kevin De Bruyne. So just for the captaincy in game week 9, game week 9, and also the potential game week 12 captaincy, I am going Salah in that position right now.
I just want to ask you one thing. Are you considering the fact that later on you might never captain Salah and then post game week 12 you'll sell him?
Yeah. No, sorry, game week 12. Yeah, let me just check the fixtures.
No, I think the fixtures are really good for Salah.
No, the fixtures are great. The fixtures are great for Salah, but the fixtures are great for Haaland as well. So I'm asking.
I would captain him in game week 13. He has
you can always captain Haaland and then keep Salah as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the main issue is if Luis Diaz was 100% nailed, which I don't think now he will be. That's the issue I have with going him over Salah right now. So if during game week 13 the scenario changes, we can adapt to that.
I think penalties is a huge plus for Salah, to be honest. But apart from that, I don't find him very appealing, especially with the way Liverpool have been setting up this season, and we've discussed this a countless times, right? It benefits the player who plays up front for Liverpool. So I think the best captaincy option for game week 9 is the player who plays striker for Liverpool. Unfortunately, we don't know who that is. So personally, if I have any hints that Darwin Núñez might start, I'm gonna bring him in and probably captain him. That is how confident I am that the one who plays striker against Brighton will do well. I'm not so sure about Salah with the
Hopefully he doesn't do what he did versus Crystal Palace then.
I think he's. I don't want to use the word. I think he's smart enough to not repeat that again, and he knows there's a big price tag. I think Klopp knows it that there is pressure on him to make sure Darwin delivers because there's a big money signing. I think he might come good. So yeah, we're talking about Salah, right? So purely for the reasons I've stated, I think De Bruyne is a better option. You pick De Bruyne, you keep him till game week 11, and then City have a blank. Then it's a very
Well-
easy to switch him to Mo Salah in 12.
Well,
But
I want
the
to
other
provide a
argument is
counterpoint here. Yeah,
you-
you won't
you
captain
just
him
hold
over
Salah.
Haaland, and you won't captain him over Haaland, and the price difference between Salah and Kevin De Bruyne is 0.5 million only now. So even if you aren't captaining him now, and you have a fixture with Salah in game week 12, so would you not rather start with Salah if you're on wildcard right now
But you
and
have
have the
transfer.
safety of game?
But you have transfers to tackle it. No, as you
Yeah,
said,
but
said yourself that you don't have many transfer to do between game week 9 to
yeah,
12,
that's
right?
why. In
You
case
have a
there's
lot of
only
transfers.
thing.
You're
Yeah.
underestimating the fact that everything goes by plan. I think starting Salah on wildcard is the plus. You saving one transfer down the line. If
Also,
you look
he is
at
the best
fixtures,
captain this week.
yeah, you get good captaincy this week. Yes, and then Haaland next week again you'll captain. You're never captaining De Bruyne, so having him against
Yeah,
a
so
Southampton
why
isn't a
have
necessary
Kevin
No,
De
thing.
Bruyne?
but there's also a case that you go with Salah and just captain Haaland because there are many of us who
Yeah,
are in
that's
the
what we're
Parma
saying.
Haaland Cup.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
exactly what we're saying. That go Salah.
No,
And
but
on wildcard
Majority
especially.
want- So the majority prefers Salah as a premium pick in a wildcard draft.
I mean, I don't see a reason why you should go Kevin De Bruyne and then sell him for Salah. If you have that option right now on wildcard,
Yeah,
stick to Salah. I don't think there's going to be huge points difference in the next 3 games. And the Kevin De Bruyne are blanks. That's where you save a transfer and you get an extra
yeah.
fixture essentially when you look at it.
And now the price difference also means that the captaincy argument doesn't hold
Of course,
that much
yeah.
of a weightage.
Yeah.
That it's only 0.5 right now.
Is there any love for Son on this spot?
Next week.
So
Not this week.
absolutely no love for Son for the premium spot. The majority thinks it has to be Mo Salah. So yeah, Salah makes our optimal game week 9 wildcard team. Let's move on to the last spot. We have 3 forward spots and Haaland and Mitrovic, they sort of pick themselves. The last forward spot, guys. Who are your picks?
Well, right now I am on Tony because as the reasons I mentioned about that, if I downgrade Cancelo, then I can afford. If I downgrade, the Cancelo part, I can afford Solanke to Tony. So that's the two moves I am currently 50-50 on. If to go Solanke and Cancelo, or to go Tony and Trippier. So it's exact 2 million difference between both of them as the purchasing price for me. So that's the move I am 50-50 on, and I'm currently siding towards the Tony and the Trippier one.
I think
I think anything that makes you stay away from Solanke, I think that's a good move.
yeah, I think Tony is for me the standout, and that's what I'm going for. I think his next 4 fixtures are really good, and after that, there's a case to sell him to and downgrade him and upgrade and get a Trent or a Cancelo if you are not going with them right now.
I'm not
Tony-
sure if most people will be able to afford that team because you get priced out. Like if you had 100 million, you get priced out by 1.8 if you pick Tony there, and Solanke fits in. So that is
Solanke,
why.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
I mean,
just-
that is why there's a
I agree.
consideration of Solanke.
Their starting purchase price and selling price matters at the first
I mean, yes,
wildcard
obviously
you
it does. That's
Of
where
course.
every team is different. But if you're making this wildcard out of 100 million, you can't
Yeah,
fit Tony.
fair
And in case you wanted to, you need 1.8 million. Again, I don't think there's a lot
That's
of
the
teams which will have
Cancelo
1.8
downgrade.
team. Yeah, The Cancelo downgrade won't help because Trent to Cancelo gets you only 0.2 right now.
Only 0.2, yeah. I think who
Yeah, it
have
doesn't
the
help.
yeah, definitely.
So what's the draft right now? Because I don't have it open right now.
So currently, wait, let me put it for the viewers as well. Let me know, guys, in the chat if you guys can see this. So currently, the draft looks like Ward, Pope, James, Trippier, Trent, Williams, Guehi, Madison, Andrea, Zaha, Salah, Martinelli, Haaland, Mitrovic, and Solanke. So there are a couple of players, obviously, which have higher on price. Martinelli, Mitrovic, Haaland. These players would have been cheaper earlier on, and you might be able to just afford Tony, but it's not going to be a case for everyone. For
Yeah,
me,
of
it's
course,
not a
of course.
case, even on a free transfer. So if that is the option, I think Solanke fits it because and he has an odd to score out. He has like 30% odds to score this week, and Madison has 29. How much ever we hate him, he still he might just still sneak in a goal.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, that he is the only option in that price bracket. I think who is good for minutes and has penalties.
You know, it's proper Dennis and King vibes.
Yeah,
From
Yeah,
last year.
I think
absolutely.
Solanke is fine for Game Week 12 if you need him in Game Week 12 and Game Week 10. Game Week 10 because he faces the legend of Danny Ward, who can spill any of his shots into his own goal, and Game Week 12 because of the blank. So I think if you want him for those two fixtures only and not as a regular starter, I think it's a viable pick as the other people in that price range Dhaka is not named.
I think, but in this team we will need to play Solanke every game week, right?
You can rotate him with Guehi.
Yeah, or
He's
Andreas.
not starting.
Or
I
Andreas,
think
Yeah.
it
yeah. Okay.
essentially comes down to whether are you ready to sacrifice Trent and go for a lesser priced defender and get
Also,
someone
we
else. But
went
yeah, a lot
for
of people might.
also we
Yeah,
went
yeah.
for Sa, right? So he's 5 million, and if people are okay with downgrading him to a 4.5 or right, so I think there's
It's
money there as
correct.
well.
It's essentially making those compromises. And we were discussing Tony, and I spoke about it earlier. And I see some Watkins love in the live chat as well. So if you're looking for an alternative to Tony, if you're willing to downgrade Trent and go for a 7 million forward, I think Watkins is also a decent shout. But yeah, whether it's Watkins or Tony, you cannot afford it if you go for Trent in the defense. So it purely comes down to that.
And also, since some people might have missed this on like we did it on the previous video, we discussed Dhaka as well in depth. Now I messaged Sam Martin, who is the Leicester 80k on the Twitter community. He knows much about Leicester inside, and he said that Dhaka isn't near to start. He could start, but there's a lot of risk in terms of Vardy still there, and Iheanacho could start any game as well. So if you're someone who was like me considering Dhaka, I don't think you should go there. I wouldn't recommend myself not going there. He has the stats, yes, he has the stats. Again, he's not nailed. Another alternative which we discussed to Solanke was Brennan Johnson. Not in depth, but again, he's an option. He's a similar player because he's got the minutes, he's got the penalties. Again, he plays for a mediocre attack. That's the only caveat there.
Yep. So I think that's pretty much a lock for what our optimal wildcard team sort of looks like. And yeah, let's move on to the next and last but not the least, the captaincy dilemma for game week 9. And yeah, we've got some options listed out, some obvious ones as well, of course. So let's start with you, Mihir. You spoke about Salah as your captain in the bus team. Are you going to stick with him? Is Salah definitely your game week 9 captain?
Yeah, I think it's 90-10 towards him before the press conference because I think, as mentioned in the previous pod where we discussed about the new Brighton manager's tactics, Roberto De Zerbi, I think Salah this week is a better captain against Haaland just due to the fixtures play and nothing else.
I think similar. If I had a Liverpool player, I would captain him. Not Trent, but I would captain an attacker.
Would you captain Diaz over Haaland?
Yeah, I would.
Well,
I was
Anshuman
considering. I am
loves
considering
Diaz.
that. Yeah, I'm considering. I was firmly considering that, but the fact that Diaz might not start, I'm not going there. Obviously.
Okay. I think Zee and me are in Haaland camp.
Yeah, I think I'm backing Haaland. It's purely down to the fact that City create so many chances, and I don't like how withdrawn Salah looks in the new role. But even if we were to negate all the factors related to Liverpool, I'm backing Haaland to score a handful against United. They've done all right.
I think he also mentioned in an interview that he's looking forward as Manchester United as the fixture he wants to score goals, then I think he'll be pumped for it. And I think City attack is the best, and I want a piece of Haaland.
But do
Even
you
it's
think he
a
outscores
psychological
Salah?
thing because Richarlison also mentioned he scores 20 goals a year, and we know how it went.
I think
Yeah,
the
but he's
important
not
thing
he's
is
not
Haaland,
Haaland.
not Haaland. Exactly.
Yeah, well, there's no
And,
comparison.
but
It's a
I'm just saying that
psychological thing in the end.
there's a genuine case that Salah outscores Haaland, and if you look
Yeah, I think
purely out
it's
of
quite close. I think it's quite close with the Brighton manager and the way he plays.
and let's just factor in
Being a
that every
midfielder.
time Liverpool won't play the same system, eventually they'll change. Now they have players which were there last year. Diaz is probably not playing this one, I assume. So
But
Darwin,
I
Firmino, Jota could start, and they could start feeding Salah more. Salah is shown signs that he wants to get center and score more goals eventually. And Son hit form last time. This could be Salah's week.
but
Also,
this
there
could
is
be right. But Haaland has been performing throughout this season, and we are thinking Liverpool might, whereas Haaland has proved himself against almost every
But
team.
again, United have proved themselves in the bigger games as well. Mihir, what do you think as a United fan? Are you slightly optimistic
yeah,
about the
it's
game?
a worry because Haaland is like he's a machine right now, scoring every game. But there is another thing I wanted to add to the discussion is that Salah being a mid and Haaland being a striker also plays into my decision making because Salah gets 5 points for a goal and Haaland gets four. Also, Salah could get a clean sheet point if Brighton don't score, and it's also a bonus because only if Salah scores one goal and nicks all the bonus points, he is up to a 11 pointer. Whereas if Haaland scores one goal and gets three bonus points, it's a 9 pointer. So there's a difference of 2 points right there. So I would consider also that factor into the thinking because midfielders generally tend to get more points than forwards in FPL due to that.
But hasn't this factor existed throughout the season? And so
Yeah,
it's
but
definitely
But
Salah is not a bad pick at all. I think he's a fine pick, but I don't think that is enough of a factor because it's been there since the last 8 weeks, and Haaland is still done all right. So
yeah,
uh,
Haaland is a great player. I am just saying Haaland is great, but Salah is better this week because even if we look at the start of the season, like the 9-0 was when most of us captained Salah, and it was an unfortunate, like brutal variant because you don't generally blank in a 9-0. Before that, his returns were like in double digits, and he was like playing like his old Salah self, like if you know what I mean, scoring double digits in the opening game against Fulham, sorry, with assists of Darwin Nunes. Then after that, it was a conversation to have Salah and Haaland throughout the season at not consider Kane, and you went Kane during that time over Trent, and it paid off massively. And during that time, Salah's returns in the few weeks before, like we know Salah is not playing great, and Liverpool are not playing great. He still has like two double-digit returns and one 8 pointer in the 6 game weeks he has played so far, which means like he only has one goal in those games. And in the Newcastle game, where he had a double-digit return of 10 pointer, he only had two assists and also got two bonus points due to the conversation of a midfielder versus a striker. So that's a big advantage, I feel.
I think those are good points. I think another fact that is something that we discussed last time as well. And Salah is he's a world class player. Let's face it. We all expect him to do well, but it's purely down to the dynamics this year. And you mentioned Darwin Nunes, Mihir, who uh, gets a lot of XG. He gets a lot of chances, which is good for him. I think it impacts Salah. There's definitely some discussion to it, and we might see more of it. It's a very short sample size right now. And I spoke about it last time that I think he's a very limited footballer. I don't think he can bring out the best out of Salah. So we've seen Firmino and Mane do that in the past, where they have a very good chemistry. And Firmino, in general, has a lot more qualities as a player that helps Salah in the sense he's coming inside. Darwin Nunes is not that kind of. I think he's very limited. He can put the shots away. He's a good target man. So that is why, for me personally, it's a wait and watch. When it comes to Liverpool, I want to see how it unfolds, how involved Salah is, and that is one of the reasons I also, going back to the premium midfielder discussion, right? I prefer Kevin De Bruyne as the premium midfielder, and the argument is, oh, he's facing United, he's facing Liverpool. If you look at Kevin De Bruyne's record versus the big teams, he turns up in these games. He loves the big stage. So I'm totally expecting him to deliver in at least two of the next three games. And I won't be surprised if those two games are United and Liverpool, and he looks all right versus Southampton. So plenty of discussion. I am personally it's a WIP, so work in progress according to me. That is how I rate Liverpool as a unit right now.
I think I would also
Just
like to see the Liverpool attack clicking before going Salah captains. As you can see, he has a 0.83 shots on target per 90, right? Which is very bad. It means he's not even getting one shot on target in a match. So I think that's concerning from me. And as long as until I see Liverpool clicking, Salah taking those spaces again, I can't go with the captaincy with him.
Wasn't
just
it
to
the Everton game where it was 0-0 for like 80 minutes and Salah did not have a single shot,
Yeah.
and purely out of frustration in the last 10 minutes he was spamming shots and it was just wavered. So yeah, not saying Salah cannot deliver. I understand the
yeah,
pros.
just to put a
Just want
question
to see
for
more.
all of you here. Do you
Yes,
guys think Salah has not been great so far and Kevin De Bruyne has been great so far?
has been great. In terms of, I
Like
think it's been
FPL
mixed.
terms,
I
like
think
who do
it's
you
been a
think has
mixed
been
bag.
better? Because I have a stat upcoming. So
Uh,
who do you think has been better
I think
and
it's
great?
been a mixed bag because De Bruyne initially he's playing a different role this season, right? But as we've progressed, and it's purely down to the fact that the upcoming 3 weeks where he's playing the big games and his record versus the big six again. I mean, you could say this about Salah, and already said he's a world class player. It's purely down to the situation where even in scenarios where Salah got the points, he hasn't looked like Salah in the past. So even the Fulham game, for
Hmm.
example, he got the points after Darwin Núñez came on. So clearly, Núñez has been a key factor. When Núñez was out, they were not really performing that well. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty. That will be my word. There is
Yeah.
uncertainty.
So
I
here's
want
the
to see a
stat
bit
for
more.
you.
Yep.
There are the stats. Kevin De Bruyne so far this year, like it's a bit of a stat. Points per match so far this year, Kevin De Bruyne has 6.4 and Mo Salah is on 6.3. So despite Salah being like not that great according to most people, he is matching what Kevin De Bruyne is doing. And like we expect Liverpool to be now better with Thiago coming back, with Matip coming back. So don't you think that even when he has been bad and has been churning out returns and providing the same points per match as Salah, don't you think as Kevin De Bruyne, don't you think it would be better when Thiago and Matip come back?
Yeah. There's definitely an argument. I already said, Salah is world class. We know about his quality already. But the different examples that we just discussed, right? The Everton game and the Fulham game when Núñez comes on and the dynamics change. So if you look at the Everton game in isolation, I think you'll see 3 shots in that game. But if you're watching the game, it's a totally different outlook. So yeah, I keep going back. It's an uncertain sort of a scope right now. But again, I will not blame anyone who's going for Salah. He's a proven asset.
Yeah,
There's a good fixture.
in the
Why not?
end, KDB is more of an assister and Salah is a finisher. So that's the point difference main
But
for
I
them,
think
both of
we've
them.
discussed this that Salah is no longer that role. Again, we've discussed a lot
I
Yeah,
think
about, and we've
more
got
than
into
KDB.
Kevin De Bruyne versus Salah as well, where Kevin De Bruyne is not even a captaincy option. Let's just show some love to Madison as well, who's a decent shout this
Yeah.
season. This game week versus Nottingham Forest. Anyone considering Madison?
for captaincy, no.
No. But I
Just
think
to play to pick.
he can be a good captaincy shout if someone wants to punt on
Yes,
a
if someone wants to
captaincy.
go differential, I think Madison
Yeah,
could be a
I
shout.
think Madison is a great shout. We know how poor of a defense Nottingham Forest is.
And nobody for Sterling, I guess. Probably nobody.
Not really.
With so many big names in Sterling, doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah. I
I
think
think
his
he's a
stats
fine
are
pick,
still
but again,
promising.
I want to see more from Sterling. I like what I saw in that left wing back role under Potter, but it's in a similar, I'm in a wait and watch sort of a situation. Too punty, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
also adding to the Sterling point, I considered him in my team, but the sacrifices were too much to go premium. Like I had to downgrade Trent to a Matip or a Van Dijk, and then Martinelli down to a Gordon, Tony down to a Solanke, just to fit him into the squad. So I don't think going Sterling just for the captains because his price point is very awkward at 10 million. Like
Yeah.
it's not at the premium range at 12 million with Salah, Haaland, etc. And it's not cheap like the 8 million mids like Madison.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
Not
And
for Sterling.
also, there are certain, there are certain nuances that United are weak through their left flank and not great on headers as well, which I think swing things for Haaland. But again, Salah is totally an option. I asked the chat as well, who are they probably captaining? So the chat, if you're there, you can put your answer on the poll. And the moment 57% people are captaining Haaland, and 29% people are captaining Salah, and there is a small percentage, 14% people considering Madison.
G, there's a shout for you in by Quicksilver in the chat. He says Zishan is lying. He loves Sterling. So what do you think about that?
I do love Sterling. It's been a bit of a love-hate relationship, but I think he's fine. Honestly, I know people will not agree, but I think he's a better captaincy option than Salah this week for
Oh
me.
no!
No sarcasm in that.
As a Chelsea fan, I would
bold.
just
That's
as a
bold.
Chelsea fan, I would say no. Two reasons.
I think Palace will get annihilated by Chelsea, but yeah, that's
They can,
go
but
on.
the fact that Sterling is not playing left wing, he's in a very middle role where he's also left wing back in certain situation when he played the UCL game. So we don't know how and where exactly where he'll play. And again, that is why you can't really put captaincy on him. And again, he's Sterling. I know you're a fan of Sterling, you really like him. I don't rate him very good as a finisher. To put an armband on him is too risky at the moment. However bad Crystal Palace are, I don't really rate him very high on the armband, especially when you have options like Madison, Haaland, and Salah. And it's not even a double game week. In a double game week, probably I would consider it, but not in a single game week like this.
Like I wouldn't captain him against Haaland. I think just for me, I think it's the second best shout. And the love for Sterling from me is like in double quotes. I have a lot of complaints from him as a City fan, but the left wing back role that you mentioned about Anshuman, and I've watched a lot of Graham Potter this season and the last season as well. And the way he uses Trossard, he used Trossard at Brighton, where he was a left wing back on paper, but it was the right wing back and the left wing back at Brighton who were top for in terms of shot volume. So we could see that sort of a thing where Mount is playing as an attacking midfielder, but he'll be more withdrawn. They'll sort of set up in a way that Sterling makes those late runs and gets a lot of shots. But yeah, it's that uncertainty camp. But yeah, Haaland would be my pick for sure, and plenty of love for Salah.
If I had Salah, I would captain Salah.
Yeah, let's move on to the final bit now.
Yeah. Again, Manan, you would captain who? I think
Haaland, undoubtedly.
Haaland. Mihir is in Salah as well. Yeah, I think there is a case for Salah, and it's up to you now. Yeah. Okay, we come to our teams. So I'll firstly run you guys through my team. For people who are listening this, I have Pope in goal, Trippier, Cancelo, James as my first three, Madison, Martinez, De Bruyne, Kulusevski, Mitrovic, Isaac, and Haaland. Isaac is injured, and I'll have to probably make a transfer. I don't have adequate funds to make Isaac to Tony, so that's not an option. So either between Solanke or Johnson for me, which is just ridiculous because I don't want to make that move. I might just save a transfer this week and probably go Kulusevski to someone, or just save a transfer in general, play Kyle Walker-Peters or Andreas and just get away with it, and then figure out what to have to do with Isaac next week. I'm not interested in the Solanke move as of now. Okay, and
fair enough.
Me, here's your team and draft for everyone who's watching.
Remember the draft which we created?
Yeah. It's the same draft?
Is it exactly same?
Wow. It's pretty much same. Okay, I read it
in the bank.
Yeah. I think he's got a lot of team value, so it's probably
he's taking a lot of
and it's Tony instead of Solanke. So it's the same draft. There's no changes, and I think the captaincy is at the moment on Haaland, which should be changing to Salah. I think
I don't change it on the website because it takes too much time. Just for the tinkering part of you, I use the FPL.team website, a great website. And the main dilemma for me is the Tony and Trippier versus Cancelo Solanke. And right now I am on Trippier Tony.
Okay.
Do you fancy at least one differential punt, Mihir, or you are happy with the template team that you've got?
Yeah, I don't mind template because I don't want to risk my rank for going down. I want to make it stable.
But don't you think that now that you have no hits and people have injuries and everything, you're a transfer ahead of everyone basically. You can get Zaha, Salah, Tony. You're a transfer ahead of everyone, and you can take a punt.
My next point was I don't have any transfers planned because if Salah doesn't impress versus Brighton, The next transfer for me is Salah to Sun next week, where he faces Brighton and then he faces Everton, which is a captaincy fixture for Sun. So that's the move I am thinking about.
Okay, so you have moves planned.
Yeah, but it's like if Salah doesn't impress, so
Okay.
I can adjust to injuries and the new things that come up.
Okay. And also, a lot of people asking about Mitrovic in the chat regarding his injury. So we don't have any concrete news, but what came out through the press was that it's not a very serious injury and he should be fine. Yes, there was a video in which he was limping, which has been surfaced a lot on the internet at the moment. But again, we don't have any concrete news regarding that. So most of us are hoping that he is fit, because otherwise, if he is not fit, there will be a case where people start removing Mitrovic and downgrading him to another cheaper player and probably shifting their template to a 4 or a midfield 5, back 4 or a midfield 5.
Yep.
Possibly.
Yeah. Manan, here's your team, which is not very different from Mihir's team. There's only one change I can see. Yeah.
Yes, I've signed goal James Trippier, Cancelo, Salah, Madison, Zaha, Sinistera, and Tony, Mitrovic, Haaland. So currently the armband is on Salah, but it will change. Of course, I didn't bother to change the captaincy as well. So I currently just noticed that I'm 0.2 short. So I might go Jack Harrison, but I'll in place of Sinistera, or maybe downgrade Sa if I want to. But I think I'm quite set on not going with Martinelli now. So there's that punt which I'll be willing to take. And again, it's the same with the Salah KDB situation. I'm still not sure of. I'm currently 60-40 on Salah, but it might change, and there's a chance I go KDB for the 9-10 game weeks and then switch to Son for 11-12 and then switch to Salah, because as we stated earlier, we don't have a lot of transfers planned on
Yeah.
those who are on Wildcard. So I think I only have 2 players from the City Arsenal, which gives me a good balance in game week 12 as well.
Yeah, and just wanted to add that you can probably downgrade Neko Williams to a 3.8 defender.
Yeah.
Then you can keep some.
Yeah, definitely.
Or
Because you won't need the third playing
Yeah,
player.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and next up we have Z. Z, if you can read your own team, because mostly we can't.
Yep. So, I mean, I've got some cash in the bank, and I have a couple of things in mind. I might add to that cash in the bank, obviously. So, yeah, I've got Nick Pope as my goalkeeper, and got a back 4. I've got Ruben Diaz, I've got Saliba, I've got Gabriel, and I've got Reece James as well in there. So pretty happy with that. The issue right now is that the midfield, right? As you guys can see, I've got Romeo Lavia, I've got Bailey, who's 4.7, okay fixtures, and I've got Andrea. So it's not a great look, honestly, but yeah, I'm planning to change that. One way is to downgrade one of my front 3. So I've got Haaland, Jesus, and Kane up front. So maybe I downgrade Kane to someone like what do you call it? Someone like a Solanke. Again, I have criticized him a lot, but that will free up a lot of funds for me. So if not Solanke, but Daka. Daka is a minute's concern, which is why I keep going back to Ollie Watkins personally. So I might sort of bring Watkins in. That will leave me with like 6.57 million in the bank. And the reason for that is I'm planning to bring Trent in eventually in maybe game week 12, because I've sort of got away with it so far, but I don't think it's a risk worth taking. So yeah, that is a plan. One move that I am very keen on is I'll watch Klopp's press conference, and if he mentions this, if there is the slightest hint that Darwin Núñez is starting, I'm doing Kane to Núñez, and maybe just captain him. But for now, it's on Haaland. Yep, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's
that
just
covers-
do a recap from the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take some questions from the chat, and I think there are a lot of questions. So we can.
The first question I'll ask to you as a City fan is from Yasinu. He asked, "What's your opinion about Bernardo Silva as an FPL option?" So, what do you think as a City fan?
I think he's an okay pick. Depends on how comfortable you are owning someone who is not 100% nailed, right? that's what you get with a Bernardo Silva or even a Gundogan. The one who is the most nailed in that midfield is De Bruyne, and that is the reason why he's the most expensive one. I think he's a fine punt, but because of the game week 12 blank, I won't go. I won't pick him yet. Wait till that blank and maybe from game week 13. I think he's a fine pick, but not right now.
Would you pick Bernardo Silva over like we have three Man City assets as picks? Would you pick Bernardo Silva over any of Cancelo, Diaz, Walker, Grealish, Foden, Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, or Jack Grealish?
If I were to pick the optimal City 3 in game week 13, because like I said, right now I will not go for Bernardo. So in 13, Haaland picks himself, Cancelo picks himself. I'll pick Bernardo Silva probably, or maybe
Over
Foden.
Foden?
Over Foden?
Yeah, because he's cheaper. I sort of like that. And so far, he's sort of gone under the radar. I think he has a lot of returns since he started in game week 2 or 3. He's probably top 2 in terms of the highest scoring midfielders since he's started. So he's flying under the radar because he has that reputation that he's a hardworking midfielder who does not get FPL points. But this season has changed because there are times when he's playing that right wing role. And I think he'll get occasional starts at right wing, and I can see the upside. I'll pick him because he's really cheaper. Yeah.
Fair enough. Dosov Khan ask, what's your opinion on Gabriel Jesus? So I think it's a fine hold if you are not on wildcard. But on a wildcard, I think you could sell him because he is also on 4 yellow cards. And from now onwards, if he gets another yellow card, he will be suspended for another game, the next game. What do you think, guys?
I think we'll agree to that.
Yeah, I agree. Irrespective of the yellow card situation, I would sell. I think.
I would sell on
it allows
wildcard,
it-
but hold if
Yeah,
there are other
I
fires.
think it's a fine hold.
Yeah.
Let's move on, take some more questions.
Yeah, we had a question from Dexter, I think, earlier in the stream.
Yeah, it's a long question.
Yeah, he had a question with his wildcard draft. He sent his wildcard draft. He said he'll do Diaz to Zaha and then De Bruyne to Salah. And that's it. That's his question. I think is it a decent team? And that's it. His thoughts on his wildcard draft. And his draft is Guaita, Cancelo, James, Trippier, Emerson, Andreas, De Bruyne, Martinelli, Diaz, Madison, Tony, Haaland, Mitrovic. As template as it gets, I think template is totally fine.
Well,
Mihir
it's
would be very
Zaha
happy.
only. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
only Zaha over Diaz over Zaha, which is
I would
the
say
only difference.
go Zaha or Diaz. I don't think you should take the punt, as I explained. We don't know if Diaz starts this one. Probably gather more information after the press conference. If Diaz is hinted to start, go there. Otherwise, go Zaha. Save a transfer.
Fair enough. So there's another question, which is Zishan Yasin is asking Zishan himself, what do you expect from Arsenal defense this game week, considering you have double Arsenal defense?
And also the injuries.
You know what?
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah,
actually the injuries are there. I think I'm pretty confident about Arsenal this season. I've got 2 of their defenders. I may be forced to sell one of them purely because of the blank. In a scenario where the game week 12 blank wasn't there, I would have held them. I think they are top 2 so far. I expect them to continue. I think Arsenal as a team are a different beast this season. There are improvements in terms of how Mikel Arteta sets up his team. I think they're solid. If not 2, I would definitely hold at least Saliba. But yeah, purely because of the blank, I'll sell Gabriel probably before game week 12. And this week, probably because I'm looking at some sort of upside chasing, I will hold on to them. But I mean, you can't have it all, right? So I'll be sort of forced to play both of them, but I'm not expecting much. Maybe another Saliba goal. Who knows?
Just a curious question. Looking at your team, since it's on the screen, you have 5 players from the fixture which blanks in game week 12. 6 players, sorry, not 5. How do you plan to navigate?
And considered you have used your wild card.
Yeah.
So the plan is obviously Haaland is a non-negotiable. So he'll be on the bench. He's never leaving my team. So he'll be on the bench in game week 12. I'm okay with keeping Saliba as well. So that leaves us with another player. I'm okay with selling the other 3 that I've got. So I'm okay with selling Gabriel and Diaz in the coming weeks. Kevin De Bruyne when he blanks. So Kevin De Bruyne goes out in game week 12. I want him for the next 3 fixtures. Like I said, I will be keeping my eyes out on the Klopp press conference. And if there are no clear indications about Nunes, I might get rid of Diaz this week and bring in someone like maybe a Trippier, or there are plenty of good 5 million defenders out there. So that is a plan. Just get rid of one of them for now, and then slowly in the next coming 4 weeks, get rid of them one by one, but keep hold of Saliba and Haaland.
Fair. The next question, yeah.
Yeah, there's a question that stands out. Someone asked about Pascal Gross as an option, and I think the simple answer is no, purely because of the other option that we already just discussed. They're way too supreme. So yeah, it's a no. Yeah.
Bandhu asked the next question about Gordon as a FPL pick. Well, I don't like Gordon as a FPL pick because just like Gabriel Jesus, he is also on 4 yellow cards. And the way he plays right now, which I think is like not good for FPL terms, in which he dives like a lot. Like he got his 4 yellow card, most of his 4 yellow card due to the diving effect factor. So I would like he is the Everton's main man. So I consider it is as a risky punt just because of the yellow cards thing. Because he could easily get suspended. Like 1 yellow card is all he needs for a suspension. So I think only consider it if you can't afford a Martinelli who is 0.5 more, unless or a Sinistera, as Manan mentioned.
I think I have to add something. I think Gordon is top 3 among all players for most shots on target. But the thing is, he had from game week 1 to 4, he had 15 shots, and from game week 5 to 8, he had three shots. And in the initial 4 game weeks, he faced Brentford and Nottingham, which accumulated 11 shots. So I think it's just 2 game weeks where he did well, and I think those game weeks skew the data a little bit.
And I mean, also to add that Everton are probably in the bottom half or the second half of the ticker from game week 9 to 13. Again, in the fixture from 9 to 16, they're in the top 4. So probably if you want Gordon, you can probably get him. Then downgrade someone like a Madison if he's not in form, and he also has tough games coming up after that, which allows you to upgrade other places.
Also, there's been a turnaround in the way Everton set up. So there's been a tactical switch from Lampard's end, right? And clearly reflects from the fact that Manan pointed out the stark, contrast of sorts in his numbers. Everton are playing like Burnley under Sean Dyche now. So I think they might keep a few clean sheets here and there, but I don't see potential for a lot of attacking returns. Just go Patterson if you want Everton cover. Good price as
I
well.
think Patterson
is injured for 5 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah. So stay away from Everton. I think that will be the consensus.
Yeah. So the final question before we wrap it up is: would you do Cancelo to Trent in game week 12? I think it's a bit early to start considering about game week 12 transfers, as a lot can happen between 3 game weeks. So I would just keep it in back of my mind, and worry about it later.
I would change the structure but not do the move. So purely because if I had to, I would do it earlier on when the fixtures for Trent are better. Post game week 12,
Cancelo doesn't have a game.
But post game week 12, he has a golden fixture run. Basically, he plays one of the worst teams, and again, that's the exact fixtures you want him for. I think you change structure or you fund both. Otherwise, you maybe.
Yeah, please go.
Yeah, I was just saying that you could also sell off James. James faces teams like.
That's my plan to sell James to Cancelo.
James faces United, Wolves, Arsenal, and I think Newcastle.
United, Brighton, Arsenal, and Newcastle.
Yeah, not Wolves. Okay, but again, they face tougher teams, and that is what you can do. Possibly James to Cancelo.
I think there's a very specific question before we wrap it up. There's a question about Kyle Walker-Peters. It sort of stood out to me.
What do I expect out of him? Absolutely nothing. If he gives me 2 points, which is as much as Solanke, I'll be happy. I didn't buy Solanke.
Would you keep him if you were playing your wildcard this week, Anshuman?
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I bought him because there were no other options. Mark Guehi has come up as an option this game week, suddenly, and he was not in consideration last week at least in my draft.
Because he had a blank. Yeah,
if I was wildcarding this week, absolutely go nowhere. And also because Southampton were rattled left, right, and center last game week by Villa. And to see them conceding so many shots, I switched off the TV after a point because I knew they would concede, and there's no point watching the game for 90 minutes hoping for a clean sheet.
Agreed. So let's wrap it up. Or is there any final questions? Oh, there's a final question from Ezo. Is he asked if he should sell Perisic? Because if you are on wildcard, then I would sell. Otherwise, I think your team could have other fires to put out, which are the triple Arsenal and the triple City, which are a issue in Game Week 12. So I would start addressing that if you are not on wildcard. If you are on wildcard, then I would start without Perisic.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
And just one last talking point of like reading the chat, and there have been it's not one particular question, but in general, so Saurav Mukherjee has pointed out a couple of things about Salah, and there have been a few Kane mentions, and I personally am sort of looking at maybe selling him and investing cash elsewhere. But people are asking, would you have Kane as your second premium alongside Haaland and go without a premium midfielder? Would you guys be comfortable with that?
I think the
No.
value strikers provide is far better than what better and Kane is quite pricey at that point where the cheap strikers I think can clearly match him over the next 3 to 4 game weeks.
Do you think the
Yeah, I
answer
agree
is
with.
no in that case? If you want to have that premium midfielder spot, and if you're backing Spurs to do well, would you pick Son there instead of, or there is absolutely no love for Heung-min Son right now?
I think Son is a good pick because the in the striker position we have Tony, we had Isaac who is now injured, so can't pick him. We have Mitrovic who most people consider a
Who
lock
could
due
be
to the
injured?
fixtures.
I'm just putting that
Yeah,
out. Who
if
could be
let's
injured?
assume he is fit at the time of listening, so the press conference has not yet happened. We also have Haaland who is a lock, so there's only one spot for Haaland. Sorry, Kane, as we can only have three strikers. On the other hand, in the midfielders' point of view, many are considering getting rid of Martinelli now. Many are torn about whether to get Zaha because of his history as a FPL pro. There is also Madison, who is a fixtures play but also a form play. So he is one player who is nailed. There are also question marks over Salah. So there's a lot of options in the midfield spots to get a premium midfielder. As would you be surprised if Tony or let's say Wilson matches Harry Kane over the next few? Because Kane has Arsenal this week, and let me just check Arsenal and Brighton, and Tony
And
has
then Everton.
Everton. Tony has Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Brighton. So the Brighton game is common between the both. So would you be surprised if Tony matches Kane or if Mitrovic matches Kane? As Mitrovic also has Bournemouth and Newcastle and West Ham in the next three.
Yeah, personally, I'll be surprised, especially if Tony
Yeah.
outscores Harry Kane. And I think
It's
regardless
Mitrovic.
of the structure discussion, and Mitrovic is good, but he's
Mitrovic
not
is
Harry
probably
Kane.
nailed, right? So we're not putting
Yeah.
Mitrovic into the
Yeah,
bag of the third spot. He's probably nailed of himself as a
I
spot, so
think
it's
the
between
third
Tony
spot.
and Kane.
Yeah, true. I'll be surprised if Tony outscores Kane, to be honest. Purely if you're comparing them one-on-one. I think Kane will deliver. He's got Everton, he's got Brighton. He could score against Arsenal as well. Who
Also,
knows?
He's
I'd
got a
like
great
to add,
record against Arsenal.
yeah. Also, I'd like to add that if someone wants to go Son in place of KDB and Salah, I think it's a fine punt. I'm not against it.
Yeah, I think one important factor to consider about Kane is, and it sort of affects Son negatively, is the way Conte has been setting up this season and the inclusion of Perisic. Again, it is something that we've discussed countless number of times. I think Perisic sort of affects Son negatively purely because of their playing style. But all of these things, it doesn't matter when it comes to Harry Kane. He's there. The chances are following to him. He's on penalties. He missed the one that he had against NFO. But he's a proven asset. I think I expect him to take along well, maybe. But yeah, I think the main point over here is that you need that premium midfielder slot. That is what
my main reason would be not to go Kane over the midfielders is basically you can switch between Kevin De Bruyne, Salah, and Son easily. If you go Kane, you need two transfers. You're looking at two transfers to switch. It's easier to get a midfielder and switch around between them. So it's like Mihir is considering. He's going from Salah to Son and probably back to Salah in Game Week 12 as well. So that is the flexibility that allows you getting a premium midfielder rather than Kane.
Yes, flexibility is the word, and I hope, I mean, whatever plans you guys, especially the two boys on the wildcard, Mihir and Manan, I think big week for you and all the game week 9 wildcarders. But it's a wrap for now. I think we've covered plenty. If you still have more questions, drop them down in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, just do the good things, guys. And we'll keep churning out the content every week. Until next time, it's a goodbye for now.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.